A Georgia man's cries for help allegedly go unheard.
I'm having a nervous breakdown. I need psychiatric help, please.
Atlanta News First investigates the nursing shortage one family says led to their loved one's death. Then, Better Call Harry steps in when a Southwest Atlanta man's bike is damaged on a sunken manhole cover.
Well, it's another one where the grate's below the surface of the asphalt.
And emotional moments at the state capitol when a lawmaker says one vote cost him his livelihood.
It was very negative effect on my wife and my family.
When systems fail, people pay the price. We trace the damage, expose the truth, and fight to fix it. This is Uncovered by Atlanta News First Investigates. A hospital accused of not doing enough to keep a man alive. A lawsuit claims a shortage of nurses contributed to his death. Investigative reporter Andy Parati explains how the problem could impact your local ER. A warning, this story discusses suicide.
Savannah police respond to a call inside an emergency room in 2024.
So he was hanging, body, his body was like this.
Do you know who initially made that call to security?
Inside this bathroom, a man found hanging from his hospital gown. His name, Michael Sheridan.
I was with him. I was holding him. I had said to the doctor,
Carol is Michael's mom.
I said, "Doctor, how could this happen?" And he said to me, "I don't know." He says, "I don't know."
Before he arrived at Memorial Health University Medical Center, he called 911 from this hotel, begging for help.
Chatham 911, where's your emergency?
Hi, how you doing? I'm having a nervous breakdown.
It happened when the 35-year-old New Yorker stopped in Savannah on his way to visit family in Florida. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder in his 20s, he recognized he was having a mental health crisis.
I'm having suicidal thoughts. I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me, please.
According to a pending lawsuit, when he arrived at the hospital, staff did not help Michael when he needed it the most, claiming they left him unsupervised when psychiatric patients are supposed to be monitored at all times. According to a police report, Michael was seen carrying multiple gowns into the ER bathroom, locking it from the inside. Security forced the breakdown to get inside.
I got there and I'm like, "How long's it been in there?" They said about 30 minutes. I'm like, "What?" I said, "Why are they just not calling us?"
Natalie Woodward is the family's attorney.
Did everything right. He did everything right. His mom did everything right. I mean, I think that's the tragedy of it.
The lawsuit claims when Michael went to the hospital, he should have been taken to a section of the ER reserved for psychiatric patients to wait for a mental health professional, but the ward was closed.
What was the reason for it being closed? You remember? Staffing.
And he was the only thing that we had outside the department.
What does that mean to you?
To me, it means they didn't have enough nurses to operate that unit. This was something where it was just so preventable and easily preventable. This was literally just a matter of keeping eyes on him and making sure he doesn't hurt himself until the psychiatrist can get there to do what needed to be done next.
Memorial Hospital declined interview requests, but in a prepared statement wrote, "The loss of a loved one is devastating, and our thoughts remain with this patient's family and friends. We're aware of the filing, which we are reviewing, and we will respond through the legal process." While the hospital did not acknowledge if it experienced staffing issues the day Michael died, Georgia is projected to have one of the largest nursing shortages in the country. According to the National Center for Health Workforce, the state will need more than 18,000 RNs by 2037. A National Library of Medicine report revealing that low staffing can lead to higher odds of patient deaths, up to 10%. And the National Council of State Boards of Nursing releasing a report this year citing stress and burnout as the top reasons for leaving the profession.
Would you agree with that?
I would say that well-being challenges, resource challenges absolutely are still a concern.
Chelsea Agopian is Executive Director of the Georgia Nursing Workforce Center and an Assistant Clinical Professor at Emory School of Nursing. So, you may be surprised to hear she doesn't call Georgia's projected need for nurses a shortage.
So the problem with the rhetoric of the nursing shortage is it just ignores the complexities of nursing workforce challenges. So by just saying the nursing shortage, it doesn't give you enough information to define the problem correctly and then have good solutions.
Her organization is trying to figure out where Georgia's nurses are working or not working, to focus resources to medical fields where nurses are needed the most. At the moment, the state doesn't track that information.
If you ask, say, a private practice in Atlanta, they might say, we have plenty of nurses, where we're getting plenty of applications, where we have all of our patients covered, all the nursing services needs are met. But if you're asking, say, a rural community hospital, they may give you an entirely different story.
I could tell that he was pretty anxious.
I have a nervous breakdown. I need psychiatric help, please.
A young man crying out for help, and a hospital accused of not having enough staff to keep him safe.
And I think if somebody said to me, think of your worst nightmare, I don't think I could have imagined anything worse than that.
The CEO of the National Council of State Boards of Nursing says hospital systems can no longer use COVID-19 as an excuse as to why nurses are leaving the workforce, adding that there needs to be more investments to support nurses' mental health. Memorial Hospital says their medical staff have dedicated their professional lives to caring for others and share in this family's pain.
Andy, you just really feel for that mom. How is she doing?
She's still grieving. I checked with the attorney just yesterday asking how she was doing, and they are still processing. He comes from a big family, so this was really a big loss.
How's the case right now? Where does it stand?
It's still pending. It's through the discovery phase. We also reached back out to the hospital asking for any updated response, and we didn't get one.
You know, at one point, people were attaching so many shortages, including nursing shortage, to the pandemic, COVID-19. Yeah. What do we say to that perspective now in 2025?
Yeah, the pandemic really hit nurses hard. They were overworked. There wasn't enough nurses then. So yes, at that point, the pandemic played a role in nursing shortages. But experts say today, we're now years away from the pandemic, and you can't blame it on the pandemic. You have to start addressing workforce issues.
Important work. Thanks so much, Andy. Atlanta News First investigators are exposing wrongdoing, solving your problems, and helping your family make ends meet. Scan the code on your screen to subscribe to our newsletter and get every story sent straight to your inbox.
A man's bike damaged by a sunken manhole cover. Atlanta News First investigates, uncovers why his damage claim was denied.
A Southwest Atlanta man who damaged his bike on a sunken manhole cover is angry with the city and the state's Department of Transportation. The city denied his damage claim, so he contacted Atlanta News First consumer investigator Better Call Harry.
Every time Steve Williams rides his bike on this newly paved section of Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard in Southwest Atlanta, he keeps a careful eye on the pavement. Go too far to the right, and he could drop into a sunken sewer drain. But here's what got him. About a year ago, a sunken manhole cover at the intersection of Ralph David Abernathy and Lawton Street.
And when you hit the manhole cover, what happened? So, big bounce, didn't fall off. A couple things fell in my bag, but I dented the rim of my bike.
The sunken cover is a hazard to bicyclists, and drivers hate it. Williams filed a damage claim with the city of Atlanta for $227, but the city denied it with no explanation.
When you got that denial letter, what'd you think?
Well, I thought about you.
Ralph David Abernathy is in the city of Atlanta, but it's a state route and part of a larger ongoing city project to revitalize the area. Steve prompted us to find out who's responsible for what during these paving projects. So we pulled the state contract to resurface this 1.3 mile stretch of RDA Boulevard from Joseph Lowry heading west. It was a $1.7 million project paid for with funding from the federal government, the state, and the city of Atlanta. Paving is expensive. The state paid a local contractor $374,000 alone for traffic control, $391,000 for the asphalt, and look at the third largest award, $359,000 to adjust or raise 100 manhole covers just like the one Steve hit. That's $3,600 for every cover. But we didn't have to look far to find lots of examples of sunken manhole covers and more than a dozen sunken storm drains. Why? GDOT says the sunken manhole covers belong to AT&T and says AT&T only uses its contractors to do the work. None of this was mentioned in the state's final approved inspection. But after we started asking questions, GDOT took another look and says, we have determined that 6 AT&T manholes and 15 drainage inlets have not been appropriately adjusted. The state says it's working with AT&T to raise the manhole covers. But what about the 15 sunken storm drains?
Well, it's another one where the grate's below the surface of the asphalt.
Look at the one we found down the street. It is so deep, you can see the old layer of asphalt several inches underneath. And someone painted the entire drain yellow. We don't know if it was intended as a warning, but Google Map images show the paint wasn't there before. Atlanta News First Investigates is getting results and answers. We know most of the storm drains belong to the city of Atlanta. GDOT says it is working on a plan to make them level with the pavement. But it's been a year and a half. And what about Steve Williams' bent rim? That's where this story began. He says the city forwarded his $227 claim to Georgia's DOT. He says GDOT promised to respond within 30 days, but 1 year later, he's still waiting.
Harry, poor Steve. Where do things stand with him getting his money back?
Okay, so we reached out to AT&T, and because that was an AT&T manhole cover that he hit, and they said, please send us his information, and we're waiting to see what happens from there. I mean, it was less than $300 at the end of the day. Here's the thing about this story, and you know this as well. Sometimes you look at a story on paper or you look at a picture and you're like, is this really something? And it was just a manhole cover that's, that big, and it didn't seem like that much of a story at first until we went out there. And then you see the cars hitting these covers, and you saw it's loud. The bus drivers too, but also the manhole covers. At night, if you drop into one of those drops several inches, you could bust an axle. So it's definitely something that needs to be taken care of. But it was a bigger story than we thought.
One of the most revealing parts about your reporting was that inspection report, what it had in it or lack thereof. Let's talk a little more about the inspection report.
So we did an open records request, and we got all of the paperwork. And it was just interesting to see as we started going through it that before Georgia's DOT hands over the final payment, that they have to sign off. And they have to go out there and inspect it. Here was the inspection report. Check, 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 check. There was nothing mentioned about the manhole covers. In fact, there was a section in the report that said we didn't include the inside lane because it wasn't long enough. It was like a distance thing. And they went ahead and signed off and cut the check to the company.
It begs the question, when will all of this get done? I don't know if you can go into specifics about a timeline, but what do you know about the process?
So the process is that, AT&T contacted us, or we contacted them first, and they reached back out to us and said, we're going to take care of this. So I think there were between 6 and 8 total manhole covers that belong to AT&T. And according to them, they're going to go out there and they're going to raise those so that they're level with the payment.
That's a busy road, so that is an update we are eager to see. Thanks so much, Harry.
Thank you.
A Georgia lawmaker fired from his day job shortly after voting against a bill in the House.
My position here is very important to me. I want to do the best job I can.
Atlanta News First Investigates uncovers the controversy in the Capitol.
A Georgia state lawmaker loses his day job after voting against a contentious package of legislation. What happened next was an emotional moment on the House floor. Atlanta News First investigative reporter Anastasia Olmos spoke to the representative about the vote he says cost him his livelihood.
You won't believe the calls and the texts I've had. Wow, it's amazing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Georgia Representative Vance Smith choked up as he addressed the House chamber Tuesday morning.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord.
Just days prior, the Harris County Chamber of Commerce board chair Teresa Garcia Robertson fired the Republican representative from his day job as the CEO.
My vote wasn't taking the chamber in the direction that they wanted to go, and therefore we'd have to part ways. It was very negative effect on my wife and my family.
Did you know that your vote would affect your personal life?
Didn't have a clue. No clue.
Smith voted against SB 68, known as Georgia Governor Brian Kemp's tort reform plan, with the goal of curbing liability lawsuits that result in large insurance payouts. Rep. Smith said he supported the bill but had questions.
Will this bill entice companies to come back to Georgia? Will it ease the fears of companies that are here in Georgia?
The bill spent more than a month in the General Assembly with amendments in the Senate and the House. Smith says he voted no.
I think I'll vote no now so we can work on that bill some more.
It passed the House 91-82 and the Senate the next day. Garcia Robertson, who fired Smith, is the wife of one of the bill's sponsors. Some have asked Smith if this was retaliation for his vote.
I honestly will not speculate.
Garcia Robertson told Atlanta News First Investigates in a statement that they don't comment on personnel matters, but hold Vance in high regard personally.
My position here is very important to me. I want to do the best job I can, and we've got to use our minds to decide whether it's right, but you know in your heart whether it's right, so let's do that.
Senator Randy Robertson did not respond for comment on this story.
Watching that, this is not something even I, as an experienced journalist, would expect. The lawmaker arguably was just doing his job. So I'm wondering, what have his colleagues said?
Well, you saw there in the video how so many came out to support him. And then after that, Representative James Burchett put out a statement on behalf of the House of Representatives. And he said that many lawmakers had received threats in connection to this one bill for tort reform. And he said that really people should hold legislators accountable for their votes at the ballot box, not taking aim at their ability to support their families.
Mm-hmm. And he lost his job. I know he didn't really go into the specifics about whether he really felt it was retaliation, but I think to the audience, people are filling in the gaps. How's he doing right now?
You know, even to this day, I spoke with him and he is so positive and won't even speak ill of anyone or anything that has happened in the past. Several months have gone by and he says he's moving forward. Even just, this whole week, he's met with constituents on a lot of the issues that they're having in their communities. He says, actually, they've been getting a lot of calls. We're not even near session yet, and people are calling their lawmakers with concerns, and he's making that his number one priority. He does have his side business. He has an LLC where he works on rural developments in land, infrastructure, trying to find, what elements are there that he can help people build in rural areas, and he's focused on that.
All right. Well, great work. Thanks so much for your reporting.
These changes, known as tort reform, directly affect the lawsuits brought against insurance companies. For example, the billboards you see on the interstate of attorneys saying they can win you millions of dollars if you're injured in a car accident. The new laws now require you to disclose the actual medical costs of injuries. Another example, if your rent keeps going up to pay for the apartment owner's insurance costs, the new laws are supposed to make it harder for people to sue businesses for crimes that happen off their property. Now, experts say all of these lawsuit costs are passed down to all Georgians. So even with the change changes, we will have to wait for the cases filed under previous laws in the last few years to go through the court system before we see some relief in rates. However, Georgia's insurance commissioner told me that he expects rates to drop 3 to 5% for businesses, drivers, and homeowners.
You can listen to all of our extended conversations on these stories right now on our podcast, Behind the Investigation. Just search Atlanta News First on your favorite podcast platform. You're watching Uncovered by Atlanta News First Investigates, a weekly hour-long investigative show with new episodes launching every Sunday at 7.